My brother stole my wife and my future. Now he want my help after everything he put me through. I should have seen it coming. My brother, Jake, had always been my parents' favorite. From the moment we were kids, I was nothing more than an afterthought compared to him. He was their golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. I, on the other hand, was just there. Jake wasn't just the favorite child. He was cruel, manipulative, and had a talent for making my life miserable. Every time I achieved something, he would find a way to belittle it. Every time I tried to stand out, he would step in and steal the spotlight. And my parents? They let it happen. If I brought up how unfairly they treated me, I'd get the same tired response. You're overreacting. He's your brother. You should love each other. Love? I tried. I really did. But it's hard to love someone who makes your life a living hell. Jake's bullying went beyond simple sibling rivalry. He wasn't just mean, he was relentless. He spread rumors about me at school. Made sure I was the target of every joke. Whenever I got something nice, new shoes, a gaming console, even a good grade, he found a way to ruin it. He even convinced a few of my so-called friends to join in on the torment. But the worst part? He told me, over and over again, that I was worthless. That no one would care if I was gone. One night, after another particularly cruel joke, where he humiliated me in front of my crush, I locked myself in my room. I sat there, staring at the wall, wondering if maybe, just maybe, he was right. Dad found out. And for the first time in my life, he actually did something about it. He confronted Jake, furious. I still remember the look in my brother's eyes. Shock, disbelief. He never thought there'd be consequences. Dad even threatened to call the cops if Jake ever pulled something like that again. And for the first time, my brother backed down. To make sure I could defend myself, Dad signed me up for MMA classes. It was the first time I had control over something in my life. And when Jake realized I wasn't an easy target anymore, he shifted tactics. The real breaking point came when I caught Jake stealing money from me. I had been saving up for years. Every birthday, every side job, every spare dollar, I kept it all safe. Or at least, I thought I had. Until I found my stash empty. I knew it was him. And this time, I didn't let it slide. I confronted him, and things got ugly. We fought, physically fought. And for once, I wasn't the weak one. I landed a punch that sent him crashing to the ground. Mom screamed. Dad pulled us apart. For the first time, they saw Jake for what he was. Dad sided with me. Mom, as always, tried to act like we were both in the wrong. But even she couldn't deny the truth anymore. I thought that would be the end of it. That things would finally change. I was wrong. The tension at home became unbearable. Jake still made snide comments, but now he had to do it behind my parents' backs. The air was thick with resentment, and I knew I had to get out. University was my escape. For the first time in my life, I was free. I made real friends. I built a future for myself. I met someone, Emma. She was everything I had ever wanted, kind, supportive, understanding. For the first time, I felt like I had someone who was truly on my side. We got married after college. I thought I had finally left my past behind. Then Jake came back into my life. Emma and I had been married for 4 years when things started to feel off. She was distant, always on her phone. She'd come home late from work, claiming she was busy. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. Then one night, I saw a message pop up on her phone. Just one word. Miss you. I felt my heart stop. I confronted her, and she broke down. Admitted she had cheated on me. Said it was a mistake. That she wanted to fix things. I should have left then. But I stayed. Because of our son, Alex. I wanted to believe that keeping our family together was the right thing to do. That I could forgive her. That we could move past this. I was a fool. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It wasn't just anyone. It was Jake. Emma had been sleeping with my brother for years. She tried to explain, but I couldn't hear a word she said. The world felt like it was caving in. And then, the final blow. She wasn't sure if Alex was mine. My son. The one thing that kept me holding on. The one reason I didn't walk away the first time she cheated. And now, I didn't even know if he was mine. I felt sick. I confronted them both. I went to my parents' house, where Jake was sitting smugly, acting like he hadn't just shattered my life. I told my parents everything. And for the first time, my mother didn't defend him. Jake tried to justify it, said it just happened. That Emma had needed someone when I was too busy with work. I wanted to hit him, but I didn't. I was done wasting energy on him. I demanded a paternity test. The results came back. Alex wasn't mine. Jake and Emma moved in together. My brother, the man who ruined my life, had taken everything from me. And then a year later, he reached out. He was struggling. Turns out, without my parents' financial support, life wasn't so easy for him. He had dropped out of college. Couldn't keep a job. He asked for help. Said he regretted everything. That he was sorry. I laughed in his face. I had spent my whole life trying to earn my family's love, only to be betrayed by the very people who were supposed to stand by me. Now I was finally free, and I wasn't looking back. After I found out the truth, I packed my things and left. Emma begged me to stay. She swore she still loved me, that she had made a mistake, that Alex, despite the DNA results, still saw me as his father. I wanted to believe that. But how could I? Every time I looked at Alex, I saw Jake. The same eyes. The same smirk. The same bloodline that had tormented me my entire life. I walked out and never looked back. My parents were just as devastated. Dad was furious, more than I had ever seen him. He didn't say a word to Jake. Just turned his back and told him to get out. Mom, no. She hesitated. Even after everything, even after the ultimate betrayal, I could see it in her eyes. She wanted to forgive him. She wanted to believe that her golden boy wasn't as bad as he had proven himself to be. I didn't care anymore. I had spent my whole life trying to prove my worth to them. And in the end, it didn't matter. I moved into a small apartment across town. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I started therapy. I threw myself into my work. I did everything I could to forget about the nightmare that had been my life up until now. But forgetting isn't easy when your past refuses to leave you alone. Emma kept reaching out. Texts, calls, emails. She wanted to talk. She wanted to make things right. She said she regretted everything. And Jake? He was struggling. Hard. Dad had cut him off financially, and without their help, he had no way of supporting Emma and Alex. He dropped out of college, got a part-time job as a mechanic. And suddenly, the brother who had always looked down on me, the brother who had made my life hell, was now begging me for help. The irony wasn't lost on me. I ignored him, but it didn't stop there. One evening, I got an unexpected visitor. Jake, standing outside my apartment, looking thinner, more tired than I had ever seen him. For the first time in his life, he didn't look like the arrogant, smug brother I had grown up with. He looked pathetic. Can we talk? His voice was small, weak. I wanted to slam the door in his face. But a part of me, some stupid, broken part of me, wanted to hear what he had to say. So I let him in. He sat at my table, running a hand through his disheveled hair. I messed up, he admitted. I didn't respond. Just crossed my arms and waited. I thought, I don't know. I thought I was winning. I thought she really loved me. But it's not what I expected. None of it is. I'm broke. Mom and Dad won't talk to me. Emma, she's not the same anymore. And Alex, he cries for you more than he cries for me. I clenched my jaw. He wasn't here because he was sorry. He was here because he was losing. Because he thought I would be his safety net. You want me to feel bad for you? I asked, my voice colder than I had ever heard it. No, he looked away. I don't know what to do, man. I leaned forward. Figure it out. The same way I had to when you ruined my life. Jake left that night without another word. It should have felt like closure, like victory. But the truth is, it just felt hollow. I spent so many years thinking that if I could just prove myself, if I could just get my parents to see who he really was, if I could just escape his shadow, then I'd be happy. But the damage had already been done. My childhood had been stolen. My marriage had been a lie. My son wasn't even mine. What was left? I thought about Alex. I thought about how, Despite everything, he still called me Dad. Did I owe him something? Did I owe him love, even if he wasn't mine? I didn't know. But I did know one thing. I wasn't going to waste another second of my life on Jake. Months passed. I didn't hear from Jake or Emma again. Dad called me sometimes. He told me he regretted not standing up for me sooner, that he wished he had seen the truth before it was too late. Mom tried to mend things between us, but I wasn't interested. I wasn't her second choice anymore. I had spent my whole life being second to Jake. I wasn't going to be second to anyone anymore. I started dating again. Slowly, cautiously. I focused on myself, on healing. And one day, I woke up and realized I was free. For the first time in my life, I was free. And I wasn't looking back. Growing up, I used to think that maybe, just maybe, Jake and I would eventually grow out of the rivalry. That one day, he would look at me and see a brother instead of a target. But Jake never changed. If anything, he got worse. I don't know when I first realized my parents favored him, but I do know when I stopped pretending otherwise. I was 11. It was my birthday, and all I wanted was a bike. I had been dropping hints for months. I imagined myself riding down the street, finally keeping up with the other kids in the neighborhood. But when I woke up that morning, there was no bike. Instead, Jake had one. A brand new mountain bike. I remember standing there, staring at it, confusion twisting in my chest. "But it's my birthday," I said, my voice small. Mom smiled, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Jake's been doing so well in school. We thought he deserved a little reward." I wanted to scream. Jake smirked at me. "Don't worry, little bro. You can have my old one." His old one had a busted chain and a missing wheel. That was the first time I truly understood where I stood in my family. Jake didn't just torment me at home. He made sure my life at school was hell too. He was 2 years older than me, which meant he had influence over kids my age. He made sure I was always the outcast, always the punchline of the joke. I'll never forget the worst of it. I was 13, sitting alone at lunch, when Jake and his friends approached my table. "You know, Mom and Dad probably wish you were never born," he said casually, grabbing my sandwich and tossing it onto the floor. "I mean, what do you even do for them?" His friends laughed. I clenched my fists, willing myself not to react. That's what he wanted. He leaned in closer, whispering so only I could hear. "You should do them a favor and just disappear." That night, I locked myself in my room, my mind spiraling. I don't know what would have happened if Dad hadn't noticed something was wrong. For the first time, he actually listened to me. And when he confronted Jake, I saw something I had never seen before. Fear. Jake tried to brush it off, but Dad wasn't having it. "You ever talk to him like that again, I'll call the cops myself," Dad had said. That was the only time Jake ever faced real consequences. It was also the moment I realized something else. If I wanted to survive, I needed to stop being weak. That's when Dad signed me up for MMA classes. And that's when Jake learned that I wasn't his punching bag anymore. By the time I was 18, I had learned how to fight. But Jake had learned how to steal. I had been saving up for years. Every spare dollar, every part-time job, every birthday check. I had kept it all in a locked box under my bed. One day, I went to add more to my savings. The box was empty. I knew who had taken it. I didn't even need to ask. I stormed into his room, my blood boiling. "Where is it?" He didn't even pretend to be confused. Just smirked and leaned back in his chair. "Relax, bro. I borrowed it." Borrowed. I snapped. For the first time in my life, I threw the first punch. It was fast, instinctual. I didn't even think. I just hit him. Jake stumbled back, shocked. He had never seen me fight before. Never expected me to actually hit back. We brawled, knocking over furniture, breaking a lamp. It wasn't just about the money. It was about every insult, every stolen moment, every time he had made me feel like I was nothing. Our parents burst in, pulling us apart. For once, Dad was on my side. "Get out," he told Jake. Mom tried to argue, but Dad was done. And so was I. I packed my bags and left for university, determined to never look back. University was supposed to be my escape. And for a while it was. I built a new life. new friends, a future. And then I met Emma. She was everything I had ever wanted, kind, intelligent, beautiful. She made me feel seen, like I wasn't just an afterthought. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had won. We got married after graduation. And for the first time, I thought I was finally free from my past. I should have known better. I started noticing the signs years later. Emma was distant. Her phone was always on silent. She started going on girls' trips more often. I wanted to believe it was nothing, but deep down I knew. Then one night I saw the message. Miss you. My heart stopped. I confronted her. She broke down, admitted she had cheated. She begged me to forgive her. And for Alex's sake, I tried. Then I found out who it was. Jake. The one person who had taken everything from me. And now he had taken my wife. Emma confessed everything. It had been going on for years. And the worst part? Alex might not even be mine. I took a paternity test. The results came back. I wasn't his father. For the first time, Jake faced real consequences. Dad cut him off financially. Mom, despite her initial reluctance, couldn't ignore the truth anymore. And Emma? She got exactly what she deserved, Jake. The man she had chosen over me. They moved in together. But reality hit fast. Without my parents' money, Jake struggled. He dropped out of college. He couldn't keep a job. And then, the man who had stolen my wife, my future, and my child, had the audacity to ask for my help. Jake showed up at my apartment one night, looking desperate. I don't know what to do, man, he admitted. I messed up. I stared at him, emotionless. And what do you expect me to do about it? He swallowed. I thought you'd understand. I laughed. A hollow, bitter laugh. You thought I'd understand. I repeated. You took everything from me. And now that you're suffering, you think I'll help you. His jaw clenched. I made a mistake. No, I said. You made a choice. And then, for the first time in my life, I made mine. I shut the door in his face. And I never looked back. The days after Jake showed up at my apartment were empty. I should have felt victorious. After years of being the family's afterthought, after being second to Jake my entire life, I had finally won. He was the one suffering now. He had no money, no future, no support. And Emma? She had thrown away everything for a man who couldn't even take care of himself. So why didn't I feel better? Why did I feel like I had lost, too? I didn't want to admit it, but a part of me still ached for Alex. Even though I wasn't his biological father, I had been the one who held him when he cried, who stayed up with him when he was sick, who watched him take his first steps. Now, I was nothing more than a stranger to him, and it hurt like hell. I stayed away. I didn't check in on them. I didn't ask about them. But small pieces of information still reached me, through mutual friends, through my father, through social media. And from what I heard, their perfect little life was anything but. Jake had no degree, no career, and no financial support. He had taken my wife and my son, but he didn't know how to be a husband or a father. Emma, who had spent years being taken care of, was now struggling just to keep their household together. She had to take on extra shifts at work. She was exhausted. And worst of all, she started seeing Jake for who he really was. Because without my parents' money, without the safety net he had always relied on, Jake was just a loser. And Emma was beginning to realize she had thrown away a good man for a broken one. A few months later, Jake tried reaching out again. This time, it wasn't to ask for help. It was to lash out. I was at work when I got the call. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. The moment I picked up, I regretted it. You happy now? Jake's voice was slurred. He was drunk. You finally got what you wanted? What the hell are you talking about? I asked, already tired. My life is ruined. I've got nothing. Emma, his voice cracked. She left. I exhaled slowly, rubbing my temples. She left. I repeated, pretending to be surprised. Yeah, he spat. She said she couldn't do it anymore. Said she made a mistake. She took Alex and moved back in with her parents. I let that sink in. So, Emma finally realized what she had done. She finally saw that she had made the worst mistake of her life. And now, just like Jake, She had to live with it. But I was free. I could hear Jake breathing heavily on the other end of the line, waiting, expecting something. Maybe for me to pity him. Maybe for me to say something that would make it all okay. Instead, I said, "Goodbye, Jake." And I hung up. I should have known it wouldn't end there. A week later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it, and there she was, Emma. She looked different. Not in a dramatic way. Just tired. Like she had been carrying the weight of her decisions for months, and was finally breaking under it. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "What do you want?" She hesitated, biting her lip. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. She took that as a yes. "I made a mistake," she admitted, voice shaky. "I thought I was in love with him. I don't know what I thought." I didn't respond. I let her keep talking. "I was selfish," she continued. "I destroyed our family. I hurt you, and I hate myself for it. I wanted you to know that." She looked up at me, tears brimming in her eyes. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." For a moment, I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just indifference. She was right about one thing. I wasn't going to forgive her. But I wasn't going to waste my energy hating her anymore either. I nodded. "Okay." That was all I said before closing the door. Because I didn't need her apology. I had already moved on. The next few years were the best of my life. I focused on my career, built real friendships, and most importantly, I found myself again. I started dating, cautiously, at first. I wasn't sure if I could trust again. But then I met Sophia. She was nothing like Emma. Where Emma was manipulative, Sophia was honest. Where Emma sought drama, Sophia found joy in the simple things. Where Emma made me feel like I was never enough, Sophia made me feel like I was more than enough. She knew about my past. And instead of pitying me, she saw me for who I was now, a man who had fought his way out of the darkness and built something better. I proposed to her on a quiet Sunday morning, just the two of us on a beach, watching the sunrise. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because this time, I had chosen happiness. Years passed. I hadn't seen Jake in a long time. Until one day I did. I was at a coffee shop with Sophia, laughing over something stupid, when I saw him. Jake. He looked like a shell of his former self. He was sitting alone, staring at his phone, bags under his eyes, his once arrogant posture slumped. For a moment, our eyes met. And in that moment, I realized something. I didn't hate him anymore. He had already lost. And I had won. I turned back to Sophia, ignoring him completely. Because Jake wasn't worth my time. Not anymore. Looking back, I don't regret any of it. Not the pain. Not the betrayal. Not the heartbreak. Because it made me who I am today. Jake may have stolen my wife, my family, and my past. But he didn't steal my future. I built that for myself. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. As I walked away from that coffee shop, holding Sophia's hand, I smiled. Because for the first time in my life, I was truly free.